What happened last night may seem small, but it may have quietly shifted the entire situation. Because while the world was quiet, multiple small movements were happening behind the scenes. Reports suggest that several minor strikes and alerts were recorded across sensitive regions. Most of these activities were not large enough to make headlines, but they were not random either. And when small actions start to follow a pattern, it usually means something bigger is building. Over the past 24 hours, several low-scale incidents have quietly increased tensions between Iran and Israel. These movements were mostly observed around border-sensitive areas, where activity is always closely monitored. There were reports of brief drone movements, alert signals, and limited response actions from both sides. And in response, defensive systems were activated and surveillance levels were noticeably increased. What makes this situation unusual is not the scale, but the timing and coordination. Because these actions did not happen randomly, they appeared to follow a quiet but clear pattern. And when patterns like this begin to form, it often signals preparation rather than reaction. One of the first notable movements was detected near a highly sensitive monitoring zone. Shortly after, brief aerial activity was observed, followed by a limited but precise response. Although the scale was controlled, it was enough to raise immediate attention at multiple levels. At the same time, another small but coordinated movement was reported in a different sector. This included brief signal disruptions and a rapid response that was quickly contained. Individually, these events may not seem significant, but together they begin to form a bigger picture. The real question is not what happened, but why it is happening now. To understand this, Nicaragans, we need to look beyond the surface of these small events. To understand this shift, you have to stop looking at these events as isolated moments. Because when you connect these signals together, a very deliberate sequence begins to appear. First, a signal, then a response, and then a quiet adjustment. This is not chaos, and this is controlled pressure being applied step by step. The goal here is not immediate escalation, but to test limits without crossing them. Because every response is carefully observed, and every reaction is quietly recorded. But there is always a line, and both sides are moving dangerously close to it.
And the closer they get, the harder it becomes to step back without consequences.
Let me show you something simple so you can clearly see how this is unfolding. Here on this side, you have Iran, and over here, Israel. Now you see these small movements, signals being sent and responses coming back. Each move leads to another, and slowly, the distance between reaction and escalation becomes smaller. And then that we're caution. There is a third factor watching closely, the United States. Its role is not always direct, but its presence changes how both sides calculate their next move. So now, Pete, it is no longer a straight line. It becomes a triangle of pressure. And in a structure like this, even a small miscalculation can trigger something much larger. That is why these small events matter more than they appear.
Back in reality.
York Hafresiam the Stair the Rihalis. The situation remains controlled but highly sensitive. No side has crossed into full confrontation, but neither side is stepping back. The pressure is building.
Father dies.
Slowly, quietly,
Quite considerate.
but consistently.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
The Bacadnan Python Peerdes the Prohartlan. The United States is watching every move very carefully. Its approach is cautious, staying ready, but avoiding any direct involvement for now. But behind this calm appearance, the level of readiness is higher than it seems.
because all it takes
Viev's your pakes, is one wrong move at the wrong moment.
And that single moment
When he's in stress.
can change the entire direction of this situation.
Right now.
Everything remains under control, but the margin for error is getting smaller. And history has shown the situations like this rarely stay contained for long. Many major conflicts, have started with moments that seemed just like this. What we are seeing now may only be the early stage of something much bigger. Because once a certain point is crossed, turning back becomes almost impossible. For now, and to freeze your Dumas whereas and Starator hybrids, everything appears stable on the surface. But beneath that surface, but even having casties the prasses, the pressure continues to grow. And situations like this do not need a large trigger to escalate. The next few moments
or decisions.
could define what happens next. What we are witnessing right now is a moment of quiet before possible change. It may look calm, but that calm should not be misunderstood.
Because sometimes
We have the from partings. The most dangerous phase is when nothing seems to be happening. Because by the time things become visible, it is often already too late. And right now, we are still in that early stage. And the question is, the min fiber of das fleet is the benrications, how long will it stay this way?